Alright, so today I'm basically just going to attempt to give a demonstration of why chaincasting is insane and why people should be experimenting more with it. Because, like most people who play casters and a lot of people who don't know about chaincasting at this point, the problem is, though, is that they usually just stick to very specific ones. Carrion Slicer into a Duelist Moonblade is one. Swift Glintstone Shard into Comet. Those are like the two big ones that everyone uses. There are a ton of others you can do though. For example, a Duelist into Comet. You see how that got? Like, and this is actually a great example because he's doing the Swift Glintstone into Comet combo. Now, like, of course there's more you can do in a duel than just, than just the chain casting. There's some really good setups that I have been using that I haven't really been seeing anyone else using. And one of the biggest ones, which works both in duels and invasions really, really well, is using Magic Glintblade as a passive pressure. See, not only does it work in duels really well, it also works in invasions really well. Because if you're fighting two people at once, right? Let's say I'm locked onto one guy over there, there's another guy over there that I want to attack. But this guy is putting pressure on me. I look at them, lock onto him, cast like one or two Magic Glintblades, and now I can put pressure on the other guy. Because that Magic Glintblade, even though I'm locked onto someone completely different, it's gonna go for the guy I was locked on originally. And I'll probably showcase that at some point in an actual invasion. But for now, I'm mainly just talking about chain casting. And if you're fast enough on the, up D-pads, or whatever your input for changing your spell slots are, you can do some really fancy stuff. I'll try to show something against this guy. For example, first let's get his bubble off. I don't have any fan daggers yet because this build is still relatively new, and I haven't really gone out and tried to get anything. So I can do a Duelist Moonblade into Comet and then into Carrion Piercer. If he was close enough, that Piercer might have been able to hit him. So he's healing because he's... Oh, he gave up. Alright, well... I sort of showcased it there, but there's a lot of cool ones you can do. One of my favorites is the Duelist Moonblade into Comet, back into Carrion Piercer. I just didn't have enough FP to do it there. But you do have to be a little bit quick on the up D-pad inputs. Depends on what your spell slot setup is. Spell slot setup is probably the most important thing to a chain casting build. As you can see, my current spell slot setup goes like this. I have, of course, Carrion Slicer as my first slot. That should always be your first slot as a spell. Just always. That should be the spell that you fall back on always, other than Swift Glintstone Shard. After Carrion Slicer, a Duelist Moonblade. Pretty basic, like, it's a good neutral tool and a good comboing tool out of Slicer. Simple as. Piercer afterwards, just for comboing from other things into it, because everything kind of combos into Piercer to a degree, depending on their recovery. And Piercer's just an incredibly good roll catch. And then the next four are all sort of part of the same roll catch mix-up. Starting with the Swift Glintstone Shard, then Comet for that the basic chain of Swift into Comet. After that, I've also got Glintstone Arc and Magic Sword, the Magic Glintstone Sword. Those four are all really good when chained. There is a kind of odd bug where if you cast any of these twice and then go into Magic Glintblade, it bugs out. I'll demonstrate that. Oh, I messed that up. So you did a different casting animation, didn't make a noise. Sword doesn't fire, and the effect just kind of sits there. The projectile is not invisible or anything, it just doesn't go. So you kind of have to be careful with that because it has happened in just normal duels to me, and it can be annoying. So you just got to be wary of that. Let's go into another duel, and I'll try and show off some more. All right. So I'm once again going to be using a few different chains. I'm going to attempt the Adula's Moonblade Comet into Slicer one again. Okay, that time I didn't do it, but I still did a chain that is, you know, it's alright. It's a good chain. What I did there was Adula's Moonblade into Comet into Shattering Crystal. Now, Shattering Crystal I haven't talked about yet. That one is weird because it's good. Like, it is good, don't get me wrong. I just don't really see many people using it, and I don't know why. There's probably some good reasons. It's very inconsistent out of neutral. It pretty much only works in chains and when you're putting pressure on people. But when you do get it to work, it works really well. It's basically the bestial sling of sorceries. Because it's a shotgun. And at longer ranges, it's going to do chip damage at best. But once you hit that sweet spot of range, it can nearly hit, like, Comet levels of damage. And it is very expensive for what it is, so that's probably another reason why not a whole lot of people use it. But I think it's worth it. And I plan on keeping using it, but I don't know. There are probably some better alternatives. The backstab spell, I don't remember what it's called, the one that spawns something behind the person. That one is really good, especially against shields. And it's just a good mix-up. And it can also be chain casted into, which is, you know, it's always a plus. So I'm gonna see if I can hit the Adula's combo again. It's like, it's very consistent. I don't really see many people doing that much to avoid it. Like, he got hit by it there. This guy's gonna be a bit annoying because he's using the whips. By the way, if you're wondering how I took no damage there, I framed the bleed proc. So if that hadn't bleed procced me, I would have just rolled it normally, but since it bleed procced me, it stunned me out of it. And see, that right there is a great example of why Glintstone Arc is just so good. Like you saw there, I was, you know, chain casting, setting it up, and I threw in the Glintstone Arc last, and since it's slower and it's wider, he back-rolled way too early, and it got him killed. Back-rolling in general against Glintstone Arc will get you hit a lot of the time by it. So, if you are fighting Glintstone Arc, if you see a Glintstone Arc coming towards you, like, just forward roll. That's it. All you gotta do is forward roll. But, I mean, a lot of people don't know that, and a lot of people will panic. A lot of people, once you can put that pressure on them, even good players will get hit by that. I'm probably gonna make another better video on this, showcasing it more, showcasing it in invasions, and all that. And I'll probably also explain why I use these two staves instead of the one that everyone else uses. What is it even called? I don't know. The big damage one that takes 50% more FP. It's bad. That's all I'm gonna say. It's bad. But yeah. That's it for now. That's all. I will see y'all next time.
You captured Zone C. You read?